Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nos programmes offrent plusieurs langues. Veuillez visiter suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Nuestros programas ofrecen varios idiomas. Visiten suprememastertv.com/schedule.
हमारे कार्यक्रम पेश किए जाते कई भाषाओं में कृपया देखें suprememastertv.com/schedule.
Life is life, whether in a cat or dog or man. There is no difference there between a cat or a man. The idea of difference is a human conception for man's own advantage. Sri Aurobindo, vegetarian. Integral Yoga for Divine Awakening Part 2 of 2. Continue watching to find out more.
Jindali is greetings in Huautla Mazatec, a variety of the indigenous Mazatec language. I am Julieta. The faithful people of the Mazatec Nation invite you to join the prayer for humankind's discovery of their true noble nature. We are delighted to have you join us for part 2 of the two-part series entitled Sri Aurobindo, Vegetarian, Integral Yoga for Divine Awakening. Sri Aurobindo was a 20th century enlightened master, poet and writer. He founded Integral Yoga, a spiritual system that conceptualizes all life is yoga. In 1910, Sri Aurobindo resettled in Pondicherry, in southern India. He would stay there for the rest of his life, devoting himself entirely to meditation, his yogic practices, and his writings. In the early years of his time in Pondicherry, Sri Aurobindo reread the Vedas in its original Sanskrit text, discovering its true meaning.
I found first that the mantras of the Veda illuminated with a clear and exact light psychological experiences of my own, for which I had found no sufficient explanation either in European psychology or in the teachings of yoga or of Vedanta.
Together with a group of disciples, Sri Aurobindo established an ashram in 1926 that still welcomes visitors today. It was envisioned as a vibrant place for the progression of humanity into a global community where even daily tasks were dedicated to the spiritual pursuit of oneness with the divine. Since the founding of this spiritual community, the vegetarian diet was embraced as the optimal way of eating for wellness that benefits the physical and transcends to the metaphysical. Sri Aurobindo explained that cruelty-free, plant-based foods bring peace and clarity, supporting the awakening of one's spiritual consciousness while also refining and stabilizing one's overall personality. Thus, the Sri Aurobindo ashram serves only vegetarian foods. As Sri Aurobindo explained,
Life is life, whether in a cat or dog or man. There is no difference there between a cat or a man. The idea of difference is a human conception for man's own advantage.
Sri Aurobindo taught that there are higher levels of consciousness above intelligence. He emphasized that humanity has come to a stage where a new level of consciousness is awakening, and we must assist that awakening. This will lead to a new type of humanity which will live in a divine consciousness of oneness. Beyond the human mind, there will be a suprahuman, supramental consciousness. In Sri Aurobindo on himself, the master wrote,
The one aim of my yoga is an inner self-development by which each one who follows it can in time discover the one self in all and evolve a higher consciousness than the mental, a spiritual and supramental consciousness which will transform and divinize human nature.
Sri Aurobindo also explained that we are experiencing the current planetary crisis because the human mind cannot solve the problems. Only by rising above the mind into higher intuition and a supramental consciousness can we experience oneness with the world and resolve all the issues. He said,
Delight is the secret. Learn of pure delight, and thou shalt learn of God. Sri Aurobindo, Thoughts and Glimpses.
Let's enjoy a moment of delight as we contemplate on the all-merciful God. We'll be right back, here on Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to Sri Aurobindo, Vegetarian Integral Yoga for Divine Awakening, Part 2 of 2. Sri Aurobindo's goal was to help humanity evolve to be more divinely attuned and express perfection in the world. Early in the development of his noble mission, he received assistance from his spiritual collaborator, Mira Alfasa, a French mystic known as the Mother. Before physically meeting Sri Aurobindo, the Mother was guided by visions of a master whom she called Krishna. Upon her first encounter with Sri Aurobindo and recognizing him from her inner visions, she wrote in her diary the following morning.
Peu importe qu'il y ait des milliers d'êtres plongés dans la plus épaisse ignorance, celui que nous avons vu hier est sur terre. Sa présence suffit à prouver qu'un jour viendra où l'ombre sera transformée en lumière et où effectivement ton règne sera instauré sur la terre.
The Mother joined Sri Aurobindo in Pondicherry, and when Sri Aurobindo retired into complete solitude, he entrusted the Sri Aurobindo ashram's material and spiritual charge to the Mother. She dedicated the rest of her life to his mission and to the development of the Sri Aurobindo ashram. Sri Aurobindo was a prolific writer and a poet-seer of the highest caliber. His poems and writings, originating from the most sublime realms of human consciousness, are nothing short of transcendental. In his lifetime, he authored and produced an incredible amount of translations, poems, drama, and prose, covering a wide variety of subjects. Most of his works were published by 1920. As testimony to his prodigious writing skills and the intensity of his mental focus, he juggled writing up to 6 books at one time, regardless of the diversity of the topics. He wrote everything out of a silent mind, an attribute of his yogic accomplishments. Among his major works are The Life Divine, The Synthesis of Yoga, The Secret of the Veda, Essays on the Gita, the human cycle, the ideal of human unity, and war and self-determination. Savitri, an epic poem which he wrote and rewrote over and over again for well over 20 years, is roughly founded on the ancient tale of Savitri and the Satyavan from the Mahabharata. It conveys the story of an individual vanquishing ignorance, hardships, and death through her spiritual quest. Savitri tells of the advent of divinity on earth and is a portrayal of Sri Aurobindo's loftiest ideal. Love is a yearning of the one for the one. In his book, The Synthesis of Yoga, Sri Aurobindo wrote about the various schools of yogic disciplines and how they are all connected and share a common base. He explains that if we can grasp its core principles, then we will have a universal spiritual practice which everybody can follow in his or her own way. He elucidates further on the various stages and experiences of integral yoga and expounds on the vision of the world from the spiritual perspective, detailing its spiritual future and how it will unfold. On December 5th, 1950, Sri Aurobindo departed the earthly realm. 4 days after he had left, the body that had housed the Master's consciousness continued to look pristine. One of his devotees, Dr. Sanyal Pravat, who had attended Sri Aurobindo in his last days, said,
Mother and I had a look at him. How wonderful, how beautiful he looked with a golden hue. There were no signs of death as science had taught me, no evidence of the slightest discoloration or decomposition. The mother whispered, as long as the supramental light does not pass away, the body will not show any signs of decomposition, and it may be a day or it may take many more days. I whispered to her, where is the light you speak of? Can I not see it? I was then kneeling by Sri Aurobindo's bed by the mother's feet. She smiled at me and with infinite compassion put her hand on my head. There he was, with a luminous mantle of bluish golden hue around him. "17
years after Sri Aurobindo's passing, the mother wrote,
Sri Aurobindo est venu sur Terre non pas pour apporter un enseignement ou une foi en concurrence avec des foi ou des enseignements antérieurs, mais pour montrer comment surmonter le passé et ouvrir un chemin concret à un avenir imminent et inéluctable.
With deep respect and gratitude in our hearts, we pray that Sri Aurobindo's vision of an elevated humanity may soon be realized, so that all beings may live in peace and spiritual oneness on earth. In closing, we leave you with a token of wisdom from Sri Aurobindo.
An aimless life is always a troubled life. Every individual should have an aim, but do not forget that the quality of your aim will depend the quality of your life. Your aim should be high and wide, generous and disinterested. This will make your life precious to yourself and to others. Whatever your ideal, it cannot be perfectly realized unless you have realized perfection in yourself.
For more information on Sri Aurobindo, please visit sriaurobindoashram.org. Noble viewers, it's been a pleasure to have you with us today. Coming up next is Loving Hot Smile, the charitable vegan restaurant of Korea, part 1 of 2. soy cream pasta. Right after noteworthy news, here on Supreme Master Television. May you be filled with eternal bliss from the divine.
Our programs offer many languages. Please visit suprememastertv.com/schedule and suprememastertv.com/ls.